If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're here every day of the week. This is getting to be so fascinating and, more importantly, gratifying to see so many people continue to come forward, new faces, old faces that come here every day. And I can tell everybody is getting better in one way, shape, or another over time. And that's great because as we all get better, the group gets better, and then it continues to attract people like ourselves. And with that said, chat's open. We depend on you to direct our thoughts and conversations, want to be as relevant and useful to you as possible. And you are the main reason we're here. Today's topic is confidence. I talked to Jenny a little bit earlier, and she feels totally aligned with that subject. So with that said, here's Jenny Maxwell, and she can share a little bit of her update and her thoughts on confidence.
Hey, Don. It's wonderful to be back with you. I notice I get all giggly because I know we're going to have a laugh. As soon as we get on here, we're going to have a laugh together. And I'm so thankful that you invited me again to speak and share with you. And I loved this topic today. It's something that I struggled with. I mean, I did a whole post about it today. I think I was walking around for most of my life, and from the outside, people thought I was really confident. And on the inside, I was completely lacking in confidence. I was just so in the habit of people pleasing and being everybody's person, that was the vibe I gave off, is that I had my act together. Oh, she always has everything together, but it just wasn't true. And when I started my business a couple of years ago, my coaching business, I had lots of other people say to me, you need to join this networking group, or you need to get into an in-person networking group. And I knew it was something that didn't really, I'm kind of a shy person. People find that hard to believe, but I don't love big groups that I don't know. I especially don't love big groups of people who are only in it for themselves. They're not really interested in who you are. And when you're a personal development coach, when you're in a group of people who are very resistant to change, you're their worst nightmare. So they avoid you like the plague, and they don't really want to get to know you. And that then feeds into your lack of confidence, because you start asking, what's wrong with me? And why don't they ever want to engage with me? Why are they so busy trying to sell everything? But the truth is, they're underconfident too. They're not curious enough to wonder, oh, what might I gain by getting to know Jenny? And by the way, I'm not in the habit of trying to sell anything to anybody. I just want to get to know you. So for about 7 months in that group, I didn't have the confidence to speak up and say, this isn't for me. I kept showing up, and I would be more and more aggravated because there was this level of toxicity in the group where people were just so afraid to share or collaborate or even communicate and ask you how you were. I noticed there was not any particular person in the group that I actually knew. I knew their name and I knew what their business was, but what you do does not define who you are. So for me, eventually my confidence became what it is today, and I created a healthy no habit, and I decided I was going to opt out. So last night, I invited a group of people over to my basement for a non-networking event. Let's just get together and have a chat. And as a self-care option, I brought in a friend of mine who's an acupuncturist. And for 2 hours, the group of us sat there and chatted. And it started with, hey, I'm Jenny, just on a one-to-one. It wasn't a big announcement in front of the group. I don't like that stuff either. But the energy and the vibe was so relaxed. We had so much fun. And just naturally, by sharing stories, I could hear people say, oh my God, but you're a prosecutor? That's so interesting. My son is studying law at U of I. You would be a great connection for him. And suddenly this ripple effect throughout the group, just by taking the pressure off of trying to sell something or, trying to be a certain way. Everybody got to show up and be themselves. And with that, they felt confident enough to share their stories. So I've been chatting here for like total of 5 minutes. I'm not even sure if I stopped for breath. So that's my story, Donald.
Well, it's a great story, and it's so insightful and worthy that I don't really know what point to really layer on or
Mm,
compliment. And I believe it's because just like this show, it's real time, real people, real conversation. It's spontaneous, nothing's scripted. And that's how you are in your living room when you have company. You're just who
mhm,
you are, where you are, with who you're with, and whatever people talk about is what you tend to talk about with them. And
right.
so I think the other element is it seems like every word we put on every day, when you dig a little deeper, it involves other people's judgment or other people's
Yes.
permission, right? So if confidence is key, in turn, how do you earn it for yourself and by yourself, right? Without,
I
go ahead, Jenny.
sorry, I'm
No,
so
please,
excited.
I know
As,
you want to jump in. I want you to.
as soon as you said judgment, I was like, oh, that's it. It's like the biggest thing for me was learning how to trade judgment for curiosity, starting with ourselves. Instead of shaming yourself or beating yourself up for not doing something the best way you could have, or not doing something a certain way, or not showing up a certain way, or not saying something in a certain way, if you learn how to trade judgment for curiosity, you can have a more gentle approach. Like, if I could go back and have a redo, what might I do differently? And Christine and Leslie in the comments both mentioned true voice.
Mhm.
Leslie asked a question about, does your true voice occur over time with lots of practice? Leslie, yes. Yes. I am a person who was not in the habit of knowing I had my own voice. And by the way, I'm a voiceover artist. So I've been made fun on here when I've done posts about not knowing how to use my voice, because it's very easy to play pretend. So when I would go in and do a script, I could easily do that. I can read off a script, I can play a character. Any one of us can play a character if we're not in the habit of being ourselves due to lack of confidence. So, something I work with my clients very deeply is called appreciative communication. It's learning how to use your voice without feeling the need to be the loudest voice in the room, or having to be right about everything, but by trading judgment for curiosity through asking questions, getting on the other person's map, sharing your story in a calm and measured way totally helps you level up in your confidence. So that was a great question from Leslie, and congratulations to Christine on discovering your true voice as well. It's so powerful. Like, that just resonates so deeply with me, Christine. I used to have no voice, then I adopted a false one out of insecurity. Boom. There you go. Every intention has a positive intention. We want to create love, safety, and belonging. So we play pretend so that we try and like fit into whatever group that we're in so that we can feel seen and heard in the space of love, safety, and belonging. And that sometimes it includes us not being ourselves, because underneath it all, there's this underlying feeling that we're not worthy of something greater, or we're not good enough, or we're afraid to fail, or we're worried that people won't like us. So, leveling up that self belief, self confidence, self love, it all stacks those confidence pieces on top of one another. And soon enough, it's your habit. You show up this way because to do anything else just wouldn't make sense to you. There I
Yeah,
go again. Another 5 minutes of chatter.
I would rather you take the whole program almost because you have so much insight, experience, and communication capability that the message does get through. And that's what we're about, is not the messengers, but the message and how it can affect people. And, tying in with confidence, a lot of times confidence is the ability to get up, turn around, and not only walk away from something, but walk towards something.
Mm.
And instead of trying to be included in a group that you don't fit, you create your own group by how you project, how you attract. With that, I want to take a moment to recognize all the people who have been commenting. Marilyn
Mm-hmm.
Palmer, thank you so much for being here. I see you more often, and that's gratifying because people have so much to do and so little time. And when they redirect it to something like this and it helps people, it helps everybody around them too. Hi, Don and Jenny. Happy Wednesday. Great topic. Paul's here almost every day. Great. Yes. Are used to having no voice, and I had a false voice, so it was insecure. Now I have a true voice. That's
Mm-hmm.
all about reinvention, and redemption. Everybody loves triumph after tragedy. Hello, everyone. Hello, Victoria. Leslie, who's just a great gal, been really communicating with the last week or so and has been very supportive, has enormous experience and value, and actually will be here next Monday as a co-host. And, I've talked to 3 people in the last 2 days, all wonderful people, and they're all going to be co-hosts. So this is getting out there. And a lot of people want to be on a platform that is safe, that is respectful, that really is here to help one another by helping ourselves also. Christine says, yes, same here. A new face and a new name. Simran, thank you so much for coming. Christine again. I used to have, okay, we
Mm-hmm.
covered that. Leslie, does true voice occur with lots of practice? What do you think, Jenny?
Yes, it does. I would love to give you an example about that networking group, actually, Leslie. So we were all invited to go to this restaurant one night, and again, like it was a group of people that I didn't, there just wasn't anybody in the group that I really gravitated towards because I hadn't had a chance to get to know them. So I decided I would go along, even though I didn't want to. I decided I would go along and just see what might evolve from this. So here's the perfect example of using appreciative communication, especially when you feel triggered by something. So we're all sitting at the table, and the leader of the group, the head of this so-called networking group, um, starts talking about another member of the group who wasn't there. And this lady is a hairstylist. And I had met with her for coffee and I thought she was really a lovely, lovely person. But one of the other ladies says, has anybody ever had their hair done by Catherine? And the head of the group goes, yeah, I did. And then she did this. She's very expensive. And I was like, that's super judgy about somebody else's business. That is the opposite of what a networking group is all about. We're supposed to be lifting each other up and helping and support one another. And this just had everything, all the wrong ticks
Mhm.
as far as I was concerned. But instead of jumping in and saying something, which by the way would have been my habit maybe in the past, to say something negative, I thought, okay, here's a great opportunity for trading judgment for curiosity, and using my appreciative communication skills. So I said, she's very expensive according to whom?
Mhm.
And she looked at me and she's like, according to me. I said, that's interesting. So what's expensive to you, though, might not be expensive to somebody else, right? So what if by you sharing your insight on your notion of what's expensive, you've actually gotten in the way of somebody else making a decision themselves to go work with a member of this group? Now, she's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And then she moved on as if nothing had happened. And I thought, okay, I got to practice my skills. This is the last time I'm going to be part of this group. I'm
Mhm.
not, this is not my vibe. This is not how I operate. I'm all about community over competition. If I can collaborate with somebody, even if it means connecting two humans who might go off and work together, and me not being involved at all. That's what it's all about. There is enough in this world for all of us to experience whatever success looks like for us. And having that growth mindset means that you get to set aside your own fear that you might lose something by connecting another person for their business or to build a relationship, because you're not afraid of what you might lose. You're focused on what you might gain. And if what you might gain is just the fact that two people have connected and something great has happened for them, then that should be enough, in my opinion. What do you think about that, Dan?
I think that it all relates to two big areas, which is happiness, and that should be your end goal with whatever you're doing, is to be happy and
Mm-hmm.
proud of what you just did, and looking forward to what you're going to do. And I agree, competition when you're trying to collaborate is totally foreign. And you're better
Mm-hmm.
off without someone competing with you and being on your own than you are with someone who will take your mind off of your game, and you're going to take their mind off of their game so they can worry about each other's game that they don't control, versus joining forces with
Mm-hmm.
people and letting the opportunity, depending on how large it is, be the umbrella in which you fit under. And that's so key. And, that's where I think confidence is so important, is the ability to be the one who sorts and not the one who is sorted, right? Not the one who has to qualify to get into things, but people have to qualify to collaborate with them, right? If you've got a short list of what you require in a workout buddy or a collaborator, and the nice thing is you can do one thing. I mean, me
Mm-hmm.
and Jenny started out with the idea, let's do a show, right? When we said, let's do our first LinkedIn Live, which was over 4 months ago, we had no idea how it was going to turn out. We didn't have idea if there was going to be another one. It was,
Mm-hmm.
let's just do one thing together and let it be, and then come back and ask yourself, how was it? And while you got to trust yourself to trust yourself, but you can't trust yourself until you apply something to yourself. Thinking is not trusting, doing is trusting. It's the
Trust
belief.
the process. If nothing else, trust the process.
Or like you're
You
saying,
know?
learn the process and
Mm-hmm.
tell yourself, I'm a newbie here, I don't know anything, all I want to know is what's going on, right? Sometimes you just take a peek, right? You open up a door and you see what's behind it, and now you know what's behind the door. The
Right.
same thing in life. There's so much right in front of people, and all they have to do is rise up, move towards what really fortifies them, makes them feel better for being around it, whether it's a person, a thing, anything, and keep sorting from a redirection standpoint, which is redirect your thoughts if they're not serving you, redirect
Mm-hmm.
relationships if they're not serving you, redirect your actions if they're not serving you. But before you do that, buy some vowels before you have to solve the puzzle, because you don't want to go off and say, oh, if I would have just known that before I did that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't unring a bell, so once it's out there, it's never coming back in that way. And, I always say to myself, have you ever made a mistake in life? And if the answer is yes, then the next question, could that happen again? And if you don't know what is, you don't know what isn't. And there's no pride in guessing and being right, right? It is going to be what it's going to be. To have to get way in front of it and determine it when you're not even involved in it at times, like the
Mm-hmm.
lady who was talking about expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like Leslie said, that's a relative term,
Yeah.
and what if you got 10 times what you put into it in one way, shape, or another? It wouldn't be expensive. It'd be a quality investment that you make.
Oh, it's, you know what though? Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing, right? So I got to read this paradigm to you. I love these paradigms. Every time we're confronted with moving forward, we are also confronted with allowing someone else to stay where they are. And this allows space for it to be peaceful because it makes way for acceptance. So I road tested my appreciative communication skills with her. I held on to my energy and I didn't get annoyed or upset. What I learned was that she's actually blissfully unaware that something might need to change as the leader of a networking group. But I had to leave her where she was. I'm on a personal development journey. I'm constantly curious about what else I can learn. How can I stretch and grow? Who might I benefit from working with or collaborating with? But not everybody is on a growth journey like I am. So I might, I don't want to have an unrealistic expectation of somebody else because everybody's doing the best they can with what they've got in the moment. And that was her habit at the time, you know? So for me, like stepping back, that was a great way for me to let go of anything or anybody that might be keeping me small in my mindset or small in my confidence or my beliefs or small in my business. There wasn't any room for my business to thrive in there if there were so many people resistant to change because my business is all about change, but I'm not about to push water up a hill. I don't work with clients who are not at the point where they're saying, you know what, I'm really interested in what else is possible because I can't want it more than the other person does.
Well, and
You know what I mean?
I think you become better when you're with people who make you better also. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people confuse positioning. Is to your point that that lady was that group was her group, not their group, right? Just like some people speak from a podium down to an audience and they talk at or down to their audience instead of with their audience or for their audience.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to ask yourself, what position are you most comfortable in? And I think from a confidence standpoint, what you're bringing to the table is an understanding and appreciation for awareness when something is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, it's like they get surprised, they get flustered, and they do the first thing that comes to their mind in reacting to it. With
Mm.
opposed to understanding, hey, I understand where I'm at, with who I'm at, with what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a step or two ahead, right? So I'm not going to be frustrated. And once you realize that you're enough, and that's all you need is you to start with, everybody else is either gravy or a learning experience, right? I mean, either you're going to earn or you're going to learn. But if you already know you're okay and they're not going to make you any less than you were when you talked with them, and hopefully some more, because it gives you another pole of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you meet 100 people like this, you're going to get to know them really well in different ways and understand also, in comparison, not competition, how much more evolved and elevated you are when you don't resort to old habits that didn't serve you in situations that trigger some of those old habits. And you can say, 10 years ago, here's what I would have done. I'm really proud of where I am. If
Right. And
you,
also like being realistic, we're not always going to get it perfectly either because we don't graduate from being a human being. Some days we show up and we're a little tired, and because we're tired, we're a little catty or we don't react the way that we want to. But the important thing, even in those moments, if you notice you're beating yourself up, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, learn how to trade judgment for curiosity and ask yourself, if I could go back and have a redo, what might I do differently? What might have been missing that day that had me show up in that state, like stressed out or frustrated or whatever it was? And by bringing awareness to it, then you can change it. It could be something as simple as, you know what, I never got my workout in, or I had too much coffee, or I had a call with somebody who completely depletes me right before I went and I met this person. And then you know what needs to change. Um, Krista has an interesting question. She said, I'd love to learn how you each define confidence. This conversation has prompted me to consider what confidence means to me. What occurs to me is being authentic and not letting fear get in the way of contributing fully and authentically. I actually think you answered your own question. That is your definition of confidence, Krista. You know yourself quite well, and it's not measurable. It's only measurable to you. Like, what lets you know to feel confident? Where do you feel it in your body? What do you notice about yourself when you're going through your day confidently? In a small task or a large task, you know, presenting to a group or communicating with your friends and family, whatever the case may be. How do you know when you feel confident in yourself? That's my counter question to Krista, if you're willing to share. Otherwise, you can DM me. You know, not everybody wants to share online, and that's okay too. I love this. This is a great show, Dan.
Yeah, well, it's the interaction and the immediate responses to what people are saying back and forth. And to your starting point, when you use perfection as your measurement of success, you're almost always going to lose. You're always going to come up a little short or a lot short. But if
Mm-hmm.
you use to measure your success, being alive, being with people you love and love you, and confidence comes from reinforcement, right? And it gets reinforced if you're creating a lot of value. There's going to be a lot of feedback towards that value of appreciation, which is more valuable than just money. And you'll
Mm-hmm.
get that, which will instill more confidence in what you're doing because you know it's bringing value and you're hearing back from it. And now everybody gets the benefit of everybody getting a little bit more confident together, or knowing everybody has the choice of evolving and becoming more confident over time. Too many people want to snap their fingers. And we say, move around and get into this. Well, it might take you a while, but that's
Yeah,
okay. I mean, you know,
agreed. But you know what? There's a really fine line there. And what we want to be mindful of is that we're not seeking external validation,
hmm
because it doesn't matter how many times somebody tells you you're great, you can do it, I believe in you, you've got this. We can hear that all day long. That isn't confidence building to us if we don't believe it in ourselves.
yeah, and
That's
that's
the truth.
yeah, and I think that's where seeing the value demonstrated and knowing showing is so much better than telling, right? When someone says, I took your advice and boy, I never expected this, something wonderful happened. And
Right.
right there, it was worth whatever you had to learn from those maybe unfair people, that you had to walk away from groups that didn't serve you, because every ending is a new beginning, right? And
For sure. And you know what? I walked away from that group, and within a month, three of those ladies reached out and became clients. How about that?
well, they
It,
saw who you were and where you were compared to what they were in a group with.
well, maybe, but also I think when it comes to personal development, people can be shy. They don't want to share in a group that's all about being loud. Stand up and tell everybody about your business. No, because I'd rather just get to know people and see who they are and focus on being helpful instead of successful.
hmm
How can I help this person? Who might be a great connection for them? Yeah, I'm glad you pulled up Krista's comment. How do you define it for yourself, Jenny? What lets me know to feel really confident, Krista, is showing up truly as myself in any given moment, learning how to say no, let go of feeling the need to jump in and fix things for other people, because nobody's broke, nobody needs fixing. I don't have all the answers. Um, but clearing the clutter of people who didn't bring out the best version of me. It felt a little lonely in the beginning, Krista, but honestly, that was what set me free. My circle is really small and I love it, because everybody that gets to be in my circle with me brings out the best. It doesn't mean we don't have fun, don't get me wrong, but they bring out the best version of me. I'm not like stuck in any sort of toxic environment with people who like to gossip or run one another down, or they're super judgy. But I really had to work on my belief system, and our beliefs really form between the ages of 2 and 5, and sometimes before that. And we tell ourselves these little stories, and those stories become our behaviors, which become our habits. And before long, we're totally going against our intuition, our gut feeling, and what we know to be true about ourselves, because we're so busy trying to play into pleasing everybody else. I don't know. Does that answer your question, Krista? Yes, Victoria, you have to believe in yourself first.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm so aligned with what Jenny's saying. In my previous career, when I had my own businesses, and they were pretty significant, there were people always lining up my door to talk to me. People wanting to sell me stuff. It was nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And now I only come in contact with 3 or 4 people directly a day. And most of them, and here's what we're saying, it is when you have the right group, you're not on defense anymore. You're not judging, you're not worried. And that's when you can be the best yourself, is when they know they respect and honor you. There's so much, I'll tell you, when you get to really get to know people and let people get to know you, you see the word honored to know you, honored to be with you. And it goes both ways. So it's not like someone's looking up, everybody's looking at each other directly. And knowing where you were, when you were, and how you are now, and more importantly, where you believe you can go. And that
Mm-hmm.
confidence is really based on your own hope for your own future and the future of everybody you care and want to see better for you. And you make everybody better when you're better, because they get proud of you. Anybody in your family ever graduate or get a big promotion or do something they always dreamed of and finally achieved it? And you couldn't be happier for anybody, including yourself, because of the work they put in,
Mm-hmm.
because of the person they are. And that makes you better for being around them. It makes them better for being around you. And everybody ratchets up together, because at the end of the day, is so much abundance, because the abundance we're talking about is an unlimited reserve inside yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like dividing up a finite piece of money and say, what's the share? The share is the value you can be for others, and more importantly for yourself. And I think once people get that confidence, it's like when you go into a grocery store and you can afford to buy whatever you need today, you
Mm-hmm.
shop with confidence, right? If you got $10 and you need $20 worth of stuff, now you're under pressure, So if
Yeah.
you know what it takes, enough gas in the tank, and it shows. They say success is truly an attitude.
Yeah.
And if you've got the right attitude of, no matter where you're at, saying, I can get beyond this, I can move forward. And there's people, which is so true on LinkedIn, who will help you
Mm-hmm.
if you're helpable and you're deserving. And usually the deserving part is, do you respect them? Do you ask for permission before you take action? And I think that's where people need to stop a little bit, smell the roses, don't rush things when people aren't ready, and
Mm-hmm.
not everybody's on your timetable. So anyways, we've got Victoria, who I haven't recognized, and she's a new face and a new name. Every ending is a new beginning. And, a lot of people see the before and they don't really visualize the after. They see where they're at, not where they could be, and if they can just be able to gain confidence through shows like this, because listening to other people is easier than someone telling you something, right? If I say,
Oh, nobody wants to be told what to do. Like,
you're right. I mean, if
nobody.
here's my story, people will listen. If I say, here's what you should do, all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, everything, defense goes up,
Yeah.
denial, all that stuff. So,
Resentment on both sides, which is something I learned the hard way. Like, I I gravely, made these mistakes like for most of my life. And I would feel so depleted because, my family would come and share something with me. And then I would be jumping in and trying to fix it when actually all they were doing was venting. They weren't asking me for a solution. I wasn't waiting for the question of what do you think I should do? I was jumping in straight away thinking I was being super helpful. And then I was being really resentful when they wouldn't show up and take action in the way that I suggested. But guess what? On the other side of that, they were also feeling resentful because
Mm,
when you're in the habit of telling somebody what you think they should be doing, on some level, you're also telling them, I don't believe you can figure this out on your own. So I'm going to jump in here and fix it. So there's resentment on both sides. And it breaks connection. It doesn't build connection, it breaks connection. So my tool for the day, notice when people are coming to you and they're venting, wait for the question. That question, can you help me with this? What do you think I should do? And by the way, if they say, what do you think I should do? I still wouldn't jump in and try and fix it. I would ask more questions. Well, what feels right to you in the moment? Or what do you think you should do? And put it back on that person, because it's disempowering to tell somebody what you think they should do. And guess what they get to do if it doesn't work out? They get to play the blame game. Well, I did what you told me and it didn't work out. See, nothing works out for me. And
mhm.
they get to stay stuck exactly where they are while blaming you for everything going wrong. What do you think about that, Don?
I think that listening is such a valuable opportunity to learn what you're into. And the other opportunity is ask a question. Say, hey, I just heard what you said. No question about it. Why did you
Mm-hmm.
say it? What were you thinking I was going to how was I supposed to react to that? And if you put the responsibility back on the person who provided something, you're going to get some more insight, or they're going to understand they were maybe out of line, maybe they got ahead of themselves, maybe they didn't mean
Mm-hmm.
to say that. It gives them a chance to back up a little. And then sometimes you get into people who go on a rant, like a lecture. They don't just tell you what to do, they explain every step of it. And in those
Yeah.
cases, I'll just say, hey, can we fast forward? Can we just get to whatever we're talking about here, instead of the long version? And, it takes control back, where you should never be in a situation where you feel intimidated, you feel you don't have the same opportunity as the person you're with,
Mm-hmm.
or you're just not in the right time or mental space to deal with it, you
Right.
know?
Well, that's where a healthy no habit. Now, if this is somebody that you've never met before, because this has happened to me on coffee chats, I do less and less coffee chats now because what I notice is that, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes they're wonderful, but sometimes people show up and their intention is to dump. They see you're a coach and they show up and they dump, but we're not in a session. I'm not here trying to coach you. This is an opportunity for us to get to know one another.
Mhm.
And then that can feel quite depleting because I've got to be very intentional about resetting my boundaries with this person, you know? But on the outside, like we all have people that we know and sometimes love who are, energy suckers. They suck all the air out of the room because they're in the habit of complaining and venting and focusing on what isn't going well. But we do have an opportunity not to engage if we're
Mhm.
not in the right mindset or we don't actually have the right energy for it. This is one of your comments. Oh, yeah. So Victoria says, experience taught me to put self care first. She's absolutely right. And here's the reason why. If you choose to say yes to this person and you're listening and you're going to be even more depleted at the end of the call, you're not going to show up as the A version of you. This person might be a close friend and that's their habit, to vent, to dump, but you know exactly how they're going to show up. If you can create a new habit around saying no, just remind yourself that sometimes no just means not yet. Right.
Mhm.
I might not want to take this call right now, but in a couple of days, I might have the energy for this. And perhaps I'll set a boundary around the length of time I'm willing to give this person. So I have to do that with people who I love. So I'll start the conversation, if I choose to take it, with, hey, listen, I have about 15 minutes before I have to do something else. And then they have a little timer in their head. I've
Mhm.
already let them know, here's the window of time I have available today. I'm willing to give you my time and energy, and I'm just going to listen or show up the way you need me to. Sometimes no just means not yet, but it's a tricky thing for me to learn in the very beginning was bumping myself to the top of the priority list. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, what if the opposite is true? What if by saying no to something, you can say yes to something for yourself? And if that means not taking that call or answering that text straight away or being so available to everybody else, you can re energize and replenish your energy in some way by taking that time for you. What are your thoughts, Don?
I think that, what I learned over time is how people talk about other people is how people are going to talk about you, you know? So if everyone they talk about has an issue, whatever issue you may or they may perceive you have will be spread in that pool that's toxic. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is if you're going to say no, just say no faster. If it's going to be, just make it happen, because it isn't a zero sum game, because there's, what ROI is, which is return on an investment, but COI is cost of inaction. So when you're stalled with someone where there is no opportunity, and I think it was Tara who said, be careful that you don't get behind a parked car, you know, and because you're not going anywhere either, then, if that's where they're at. Uh,
Right, with that, then sometimes, though, with family and friends and people that we truly care about, you are behind a parked car, but they're
you
part of your life. They're part of your life, and you love them, but they're not going to change. So it's up to you to change. You change your expectation of them, but you also, it's okay to change your expectation of yourself. Like, how much of myself am I willing to give here? I know how they're going to show up. They are a parked car, but I still love and care for them. I don't.
Absolutely. And really, I think that the idea is once you recognize who they are and what they are, you
Mhm.
should be the one who takes responsibility for making it as positive for them as possible, right? Like,
Mm,
what I'm saying is, like what we talked about, if someone is so bent on something that you don't care about, right? That isn't worth your time or interest, not something important. But if someone says, "Hey, I want an extra piece of cake," and you think that's not fair, right? At a certain point, you say, "Look at the time and energy I'm going to save by just doing something I normally wouldn't do for somebody, just to move forward." But also, I remember talking about visiting family. And, for every year I go back, because, I grew up in Detroit. And when I was in my late 20s, I moved to Denver and got married. And, that's where I am. So I'd go back to Detroit probably twice a year, because I have my grandparents still there. And, I had a lot of family. So it was like every day my mother would already have the schedule. You're going to see Uncle Sam this week, and you're going
yeah.
to see this week. And, you know, anyways, I go along with it. And I know everybody because that's who I grew up with,
Uh-huh.
and I know how important it was for them to get a visit, because there was competition, right? Who went
Mm.
first? How long did you spend there? What did they
Oh my
say?
gosh. You're
Yeah,
making me break out in hives. This is every trip for me going back to Ireland. It's exhausting. And you hit the ground running when you get there. And whether it's an hour or 10 hours, it's never enough of your time. Everybody's still disappointed. And you leave, like, as I say, like with a side order of guilt to your cup of tea. I'll have a cup of tea and a side order of guilt, please, because nothing I do here is going to be enough for you. I totally get that. Literally, I'm like squirming in my seat as you were telling me that story. I'm like, that was my trip a few weeks ago.
but what you find is it's universal, right? And to a certain extent is trying, you know, having a trip that was supposed to, I talked with someone last night and it was kind of interesting. And we were talking about how many people have weddings that they need to watch the video to see what happened, right? And it was their wedding. But they went from table to table, thanking everybody for coming here, wishing them a good time, seeing how they can make it better. And it was their wedding. I said, wouldn't it be cool if at the beginning of the reception, everybody just said, we're going to all introduce us to everybody right now and wish everybody the same thing that we were going to do individually. And now we'll get to enjoy the dancing, the food, the whatever. And that's what people's life is about, is you don't have to decide which side you're on. Be on the side that's playing, that's active. Be one of the 50 right here today instead of one at the top or two at the top and 48 away from each other, because separation doesn't help anybody. But getting closer, sharing more, and what's comfortable to share with people who are comfortable to share with, and people you're sharing with for two reasons. First of all, the more you share, the less serious it becomes, right? The more you can talk about something, get it out, it kind of like loses a lot of its energy. The other thing is people get so much benefit from learning from somebody else. They say a smart person learns from themselves. A really smart person learns from other people and their experience. And
Yes,
now,
because a really smart person remains curious.
and it's open, right? And it says,
I'm curious about what else is possible here. I didn't know that. I don't need to know everything. I knew, Chris, I saw that. It's the truth, like Irish guilt. It's a real thing. I had to remind my family that I'm actually on my holidays. Thanks for scheduling me to within an inch of my life for the 10 days that I'm here, but I'm also on my holidays. So at some point, would anybody like to ask me what I would like to do before I'm being whisked off to some hotel for a cup of tea and a scone that I didn't want?
well, what's so beautiful about it is you can laugh about it, and you can look back at it as still, something you wouldn't have passed up, and something that, touches people in ways that you never know. So just like not judging people, it's also giving people for credit for things you'll have no idea what the foundation was for it, or what the context or the situation or the mindset. And I just believe that the future is the future, and the past is a nice platform to learn from, to look back on. And everybody, if they've lived long enough, has had so many wonderful experiences with so many wonderful days of doing so many wonderful things, and it's all in that file cabinet in your brain, and you can pull it out, and just like you look at old pictures and you reminisce, that should be a meditation. Pick out the 3 happiest times of your life for 10 minutes and think about them. It's, once you write it down, you can do it. You can celebrate.
Right. Or at the end of your day. It doesn't have to be over your whole life. Do it every day. What were the top 3 things that happened today that I'm most proud of? And it can be anything small. I took time to have a shower. I made my bed. I called whoever. I got out for a walk. I made a delicious meal. Like, anything you can celebrate yourself, that will level up your confidence, because you'll be motivated to do it again. Instead of focusing on what didn't go well or what you didn't get done, start putting the focus on what you did get done and what you can celebrate as a result. And be your own biggest champion. No more external validation. Like, I showed up for myself. That's the end of the day. And at the start of the day, set your intention. Give yourself a couple of minutes, even if it's 1 minute extra before you get up out of bed, and ask yourself, how do I want to show up today? What version of me do I want to bring to the table? The A version or the stressed out B, C, or D version of myself? What's my intention for today? I want to step into my most confident self. How do I know when I'm confident? You know what makes you feel confident. If you don't know, get curious, right? How do I know when I'm confident? Where in the past have I had evidence of feeling confident? That version of you is still inside of you. So just tap back into it and remind yourself that you're a confident person, because here you are today. You made it. No matter what happened, whatever went wrong, you're here today and you made it. So congratulations. Fall forward, you know?
Well, and I believe that everything is based on context. You know, honestly, when I wake up every day, I am so thankful for another day. You
Mm,
know, I say to myself, you just got another ticket on the roller coaster of life. Have a good time. You know, I mean, that's what it is, because some people wake up today, don't go to sleep tonight. Some people go
no.
to sleep tonight and don't wake up tomorrow. And if you've got another day, what would you do? You know, they say live every day like it's your last, because one day it will. Your focus would be on things you love, people
Mm-hmm.
who love. You wouldn't be thinking of a bill next week. There won't be a bill next week, you know? And the things that, you know, superficial things, cosmetic things,
Yeah.
things that really are trite. And when you really get down to it, you can say goodbye to everybody like you'll never see them, and say back hello to them, and be so joyful they're here one more day for you. You
Yeah.
know, if you take everything in measure, if you know, like if you gift yourself, there are some days, you know, it's about being aware. I'll eat my oatmeal and I spend a lot of time with it, because put blueberries in, sometimes nuts. I mean, I'm always, you know, cinnamon. And when I get it right, I'm like so excited that I have this opportunity. And people take it for granted. Some people eat, never touches their tongue. It just goes, they're so fast, it
Mm-hmm.
goes right down. You know, they don't enjoy it. You know, there's people with family, they're looking at their screens, they don't enjoy each other. It's like, take a moment to be in the now with yourself, find things that do make you happy, and do those.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate successes, to Jenny's point, even if they're so small.
Mm-hmm.
But if, you know, I look outside on a really cold night and just feel how lucky I am to have a warm house.
Me
I
too.
mean, and I
My
think,
head my head hits the pillow and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I am so comfortable right now. I just couldn't be happier in this moment." Because, you know, the truth is, like, we can be physically there, but not mentally present. And that goes back to your point about like the family sitting together and everybody's on their phones. Yeah, we're physically together, but we're not mentally present because we're not actually engaging with one another. So start noticing if your habit is distraction. Like I was guilty of that. I would go to my son's soccer game and I would be standing there in the rain, by the way, which I'm sure is coming. Is this the spring season of soccer has just kicked off here, and it's lovely today, but he's not playing today. But I noticed that I would be there for the hour that he was kicking the ball around the field with his teammates, but mentally, I was probably on my phone creating a post. At that time, I was posting 2 or 3 times a day on LinkedIn. That was when I noticed that LinkedIn was becoming my job, and I had to reset the boundaries on that. So putting the phone away and being present and in the moment, and watching him, so that at the end of the game, when he's sharing with me this or that, I was aware of it. I spotted it, I noticed it. You know, that builds connection. So any action that you're taking, whether it's with words or a physical action, ask yourself, is this about to build connection or break connection?
well, it's
So
so funny you say that, because my grandson started his soccer season last week and had the first game. And I decided just to leave the phone at home.
yeah, good idea.
I don't even have to think about it or look at it or be tempted by it. It's not with me, and I'm with enough people that have phones, so I'm not going to be without a phone if an emergency happened, or you know, I mean, you're not going to miss something, but what you won't miss is the person who you're there for the game they're playing in, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't care, they don't care. You model what you do. And you're
Yeah.
right, if physically you're present and they look over and you're texting, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they feel like, hey, you know, they got, I would say, cheated in a way. It's like,
So
hey, I'm on the stage and you're not even caring to look at me, you know?
right, but here's the thing, right? So let's not go for big leaps here, because some of us, me included, I can't leave my phone at home because I have another kid somewhere else. And, you know, mostly I'm here by myself. So for my own peace of mind, I I would feel more secure knowing that if my kid needs to get in touch with me,
Mhm.
he can do so. So if we could like roll it back to like point A, and what if, like if you're in the habit of checking your phone every 5 minutes and that's just your habit, well, let's stretch it out to 8 minutes
Mhm.
or 10 minutes. And then in 2 days' time, see if you can do 12 minutes. In my case, at the game, maybe I check my phone 2 times in an hour. And if there is no message, I set an intention that I'm just going to put the phone back in my purse and not actually get on and start playing on it or looking for something to do or distracting myself in some way. But starting with small changes, like those small changes over time lead to big results. But it doesn't have to be an all or nothing
Mhm.
approach because when we have that approach, we're usually coming from the headspace of deprivation, whether it's with food or it's with something else. So if it's with connectivity and technology, just start something small. Like, how can I make this easy on myself? How can I start to loosen the grip on having to be available all the time and just set that intention. All right, we're at 55 minutes. I gotta
Yeah.
go in a minute. We gotta wrap it up, Don.
Right. And just to finish up, Krista says one of the greatest gifts we can give to others is the gift of being present. Marilyn, thank you so much for being here today. Wonderful event as usual. Don and Jenny, thank you so much. Must run. And it is top of the hour, and I am respectful of that, especially during the weekdays. I can't thank Jenny enough. This has been such an exhilarating conversation. You know, we started with confidence, and hopefully we provided a lot of different perspectives and justifications and maybe methods to become more confident. But I think the ultimate message is everything is within you. Everybody has greatness within themselves. And
Mhm,
all they need is the opportunity to have the opportunity to express themselves in a quality, safe place with people who are in the same situation. Because the nice thing about talking about a word or a situation is everybody's equal at that point, right? Everybody has a level of confidence. Everybody wants to, I think, have more confidence in time. And hopefully, by having a group that's around you, and like Jenny says, just having a few really quality people who you
mhm,
don't have to think about, you know, and you
mhm.
can focus on things is so valuable and important. Jenny, final words?
Yeah, when you really surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you, you lose that feeling that you need to be prepared when you show up. You don't need to be prepared. You show up. You show up as you. You show up as yourself, whether it's a good day or a not so good day, because they accept you because it's all about who you are, not what you do. So they're my final words. Thank
Well,
you
I
for
think
having me.
you had not only final words, you had, as usual, so many wonderful insights, so many wonderful inspiring thoughts and opportunities for people to learn without guilt, without shame,
Mhm.
without being told. And hopefully we model some of that too. And if everybody does a little bit, and everybody
Mhm.
comes here with different reasons. Some people want to network, some people want to learn, some people want entertainment, whatever it is. If you got what you wanted and a little bit more, we did what we needed to do today,
Yeah.
which will give us confidence in helping others do more. And believe in yourself and believe in the goodness of others. There are so many wonderful people who their voice hasn't been heard yet, you
Mhm.
know, and if you can unlock that opportunity for them, they'll be eternally grateful for the person
Yeah.
that might have helped them on their way or give them a little inspiration. So little things mean a lot. And to Jenny's point, that's where you should start because it's most comfortable. Make small
Yeah.
little changes, and when you're comfortable, make more. Be happy. With that said, rest up. 23 hours from now, we're back. I'll share with you that tomorrow we've got, let me check. Okay, tomorrow we've got Brett Kelly with us. Christy is here Friday. Rita Wirtz is a new person who's here with Omar M on Sunday. We have Sarah Dawkins And then Leslie
Oh,
Flowers is here Monday. I mean, this is really so cool that so many wonderful people are showing up and sharing so much. So with that said, uh, thank you so much, and we'll talk again. Bye for now.